Hello everyone, I'm USDAW General Secretary Joanne Thomas. I'm delighted to welcome you to USDAW's very first podcast, Talking Shop. Today I'm joined by some fantastic women in celebration for International Women's Day, and I'd like to introduce Elsie Blundell, MP for Haywood and Middleton North, Janine Bowler, Councillor for Durn South in Barnsley, and Lebo Parkway, Councillor from Ilford North in Redbridge. So first of all, thank you very much for joining us on USDAW's inaugural podcast. And like I said, this is a special edition celebrating International Women's Day, and in particular how important it is to have women moving into political roles of power and influence. But of course, this affects anybody from a working class background. You know, we've always said in our movement we're better off to have more working people moving into politics. But if I could just start by asking you all, if you don't mind, to share your journey of how you got involved into politics. Could we start with yourself, Elsie, please?
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in Barrow-in-Furness, so a very working class town. There's a big focus there on the shipbuilding industry. GMB and Unite trade unions represent a lot of workers in that town. And I first got involved in the Labour Party aged 16, and the GMB trade union club was actually opposite our Labour Party offices. So I grew up very much with the Labour movement around me in Barrow, knowing lots of people who were working in the shipbuilding and submarine industry. And it was really part of my childhood. Grew up, working class background, single parent family. My mum did sort of odd bits of cleaning jobs. And although I went on to kind of have a professional career, I think class doesn't come off in the wash. So having those values is something that has really kind of stuck with me. And I really try in my role to represent working people in my constituency and in my job in Haywood and Middleton North.
Thanks for sharing that. And what a fantastic trade union background you have. And I know it's going to be no different from our other guests. So Janine, you've been a councillor for a long time now. Where did it all start?
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation for me to be here today as well. I work for Tesco and we got involved with this. We started getting involved with the union and got more involved with the union, did quite a lot of academies, stand down, and it was that got my roots into Labour actually. It's just like an onset from what you do as a union to what you can do for a lot more people, for like a wider audience. I started being a councillor, I first got elected nearly 8 years ago, so I've absolutely loved every minute of it. It's not an easy job to do. You don't get a lot of thanks, but you don't do it for thanks, you do it for the people that you represent. Helping, it could be absolutely anything from your day to day. There's no days are the same. It could be out to do with poverty, housing, potholes, edges, lawns, anything at all like that. But it's something I'd never change, and I do thank USDAW for putting me on that path to where I am now.
Well, that's great to hear. And equally, Lebo, you've been a councillor for a very long time now. What got you interested into that role and how did it come about?
I was thinking about this last night.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think I fell into it. I was born in Lesotho, which is in Southern Africa, and the politics there were violent. We were not encouraged to get involved in politics. But I came here, and in 2012, I think that's when I was first elected as a rep.
Wow.
Went to branch meetings and people were talking language that I didn't understand. But then going to ADMs, met John Hannett.
Right.
And he always talked about politics is simple. It's hard work, but it's simple. It's just a difference of opinion. As soon as you say, I don't like that, that's politics. And you have to build it up.
Yeah.
And over the years, I kept hearing the same message over and over. So I joined the CLP, went to the CLP meetings. 2018, I went canvassing and I met a group of black women who were angry. There was community tension.
Right.
And when they saw me, they were like, you would make a good councillor. And I was like, why? They said, because you would relate to us, then the dots are joining, from the union to Labour. And I was elected in 2022. It's been a great journey, eye-opener. I enjoy every bit of it.
Fantastic. But they're very challenging roles, aren't they? If I could just ask you, Janine, you've got busy lives, you've got busy jobs. What makes you want to take that extra step, and how much time does it take? And what would you say some of the other hurdles are, and how do you overcome those to do the job of a councillor?
Prioritise, to be fair.
Yeah.
I've got a job in Tesco, I've got a family, I've got a beautiful granddaughter, and then obviously you've got your council job. In a way, your family does seem to take a bit of a back burner, but I'm lucky my children are older, so I haven't got the responsibilities, but I did quite a few years ago. But you learn to prioritise, you stretch. You seem to stretch yourself in every different directions.
Yeah.
Like I say, if I didn't want to do it and I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be doing it, but I do.
Yeah.
And it's there, you're there for the people. Your representation and your voice is what we are for the people who you live with.
Yeah. I share your sentiment around how difficult it is and how it can be difficult. My daughter always said to me that actually the work that I've done has really given her a strong work ethic. And I know you've got a young child, Elsie, so I was going to say, how do you cope with those, that scenario of having a really busy job, especially managing childcare and all of the other hurdles? And how do you overcome that yourself?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I've got a 1-year-old daughter, so it can be a bit of a juggle.
Yeah.
The life of an MP, it is a busy one, but also it's quite flexible in some ways. So, for example, on Monday, Parliament doesn't sit until 2:30 p.m. We finish a lot later at 10:30 or 11, which isn't the most family-friendly of hours, but it does mean that I have my daughter in the morning, so I've got a lot of flexibility thanks to that, and on other days as well. So there are some things about being an MP where your life is more flexible. I'm not kind of doing a 9 till 5 role, so I do have a little bit more control over my time. I think it's a strange way of life. Me and my daughter often travel up and down to London together on the train. But in some ways it's not as difficult as kind of colleagues who've got older children and they've kind of had to get used to mum or dad being away from them in Westminster during the week. So it's a strange way of life, but I make it work. And what I would say is I've got lots of older women, Labour MPs, I've not had any formal mentoring, but women who've taken on that role and kind of spoken to me about their experiences and how they've managed it with young children as well. Yeah.
I remember taking my daughter and niece to many a branch meeting.
Yes.
And I knew I'd maybe took it too far when I saw them rocking around with suit jackets with shoulder pads in the house when they're about 7 with clipboards. I think maybe might leave her at home a little bit more. But it's interesting when they're with you all the time, what they're exposed to.
Indeed.
And the same to yourself, Libo. Obviously, very busy constituency where you're a councillor. What are the challenges that you face, and how do you overcome them on those dark days when you think, why am I doing this?
Thank you, Joanne. It is really time management.
Yeah.
Time is the enemy.
Yeah.
But it is, you learn to manage. So, for example, I work in Tesco's. I sit on 5 committees in the council. I've got about 5 or 6 in Asdo. And my work is flexible. So I work when I'm free from other things that I'm doing.
Yes.
And that really helps me.
Yeah.
Initially, it was difficult, but now I'm settled.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, and what is more rewarding? Because I think we have to counteract what the challenges are with, why you all do what you do. So, Janine, what would you say is the benefits? Where do you really feel I'm making a difference here?
I think it's when you know that you've helped somebody, or you've helped a resident that's got fears about the way of life or poverty, that you can try and direct them to things like that. I think it's same as just being a rep, to be fair. You're there for the person. You're there to listen to them, to guide them, to give them information. And I think that yourself, when you've walked away from it, you think, that you've helped them.
Yeah.
And I think it's that when you've had the absolutely rubbish days, the good days, something like that outweighs 40
Yeah,
of the bad
of
days.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
I think
good
that's
to
why
know.
we're a rate.
Yeah.
We've all come from helping
Yeah.
as colleagues and stuff like that to obviously helping as residents.
Yeah. It's same for yourself, Lebo. Do you get those good days?
Oh, yes. I'm just thinking of a case where there was a tall building that was infested with bugs.
Oh, God.
And that was coming from one flat, but it was affecting the whole building.
Wow.
And every time I pass that building, I feel good.
Yeah.
This is why
helps,
I'm
yeah.
out, because that was cleaned. The residents are happy. And, you know, what more do you want?
Yeah.
It's not about money. It's just feeling good about yourself that you have helped people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Helping people is the theme here as well. And what about yourself, Elsie? What's your highlights of being an MP?
Well, let me start by saying I think the work that USDA and trade union reps do generally is amazing. You help so many people in workplaces, and that's incredible. And I'm not surprised that you get a sense of satisfaction on those days when it does go right. For me, I would say something similar actually. Every week on a Friday, I do a surgery for my constituents, and even if I've had a week where things have felt difficult in Parliament, coming back to my constituency and actually helping people with those cases is something that's pleasing to me as well. I would add as well, obviously being in national government and being able to make a difference in that way when it comes to things like employment rights legislation related to violence against women and girls and policing, those types of things, working on those really significant things that this Labour government is doing and actually getting them through Parliament and being part of that is amazing as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Employment Rights Act in particular, it's the biggest uplift in history, I think, for workers in general. So it's brilliant that now is going to come into fruition. Yeah. Why do you think it's important that women are taking up political roles, and why we should do so much as a movement to encourage that to happen?
Absolutely. I would say that you can't be it if you can't see it. So I think it's really, really important to be visible. And I'm really glad that USDA and the trade union movement, and now also, you know, the Labour Party MPs and councillors, we do make an effort, as we're doing other good things, whether it's locally or nationally, to be visible as well, and to really kind of make clear that democracy is for us all. We should, you know, we all need to be a part of it. That's how we'll get better outcomes for our residents. So that's why I think it's really important.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Lebo, what's the representation of women in your constituencies? The many women taking up those roles, and particularly women of colour as well?
We do have a few women. We're more balanced in my constituency. However, women of colour, well, when I say colour, I mean Black, African. I'm the only one.
Right, okay.
And that does put pressure a little bit, that you have to perform and be better than everybody else. But it's a big issue to recruit Black women into politics. They need more support, I suppose, because you know, being from a migrant, you don't have strong family networks to help, like childcare, because we are required to be going out, canvassing, doing meetings in the evenings and stuff like that. It's hard. So I can appreciate, but I'd be proud if more women came on.
Yeah, of course. And USDA, we've got a Black activist programme where we very much focus on encouraging women to get into politics, you know, Black women in particular. You've participated in that programme. Do you think that's helping the situation?
That is helping. That is helping. We have seen more men taking the positions, but we still want to work on the women to come aboard. I have got one in my region who's joined the political committee.
Fantastic,
and I'm very proud of her.
Excellent.
So it is working. It's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you had some part to play in that, Lebo. I've got no doubt that will have been the case. What about yourself, Janine? Have you got many women in your constituency? I know you've got a woman MP.
We have, Steph. She's doing really well, to be fair.
Excellent. Great.
We've got, in the council, to be fair, we're pretty level.
Yeah.
Which is really good. We do need that woman's voice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in the ward that I'm in, we're actually 3 lady councillors at the moment, so which is really good. And we've actually got the youngest councillor in Barnsley area, in quite a few areas, so which is really good, because somebody who's young I think she started when she was 18.
Right.
We've got that young voice, and we've got that young point of view as well.
Yeah. And Elsie, we've seen the rise in some far-right populist parties, you know, Reform being one of them, who are really threatening, you know, the Equalities Act, you know, and are really, I think, going to bring us back as a country if they get into power. What would you say to voters to watch out for, and particularly to women voters, on, you know, what they need to know about reform in particular?
Yeah, I think it's really scary for women in particular, the threat of reform. In the Gorton and Denton by-election, we had the reform candidate who was talking about women and young girls needing to have a biological reality check, and making all sorts of comments about their fertility and family planning that we really don't need to hear and don't really have any place in 21st century Britain, to be quite honest. So we need to be really aware about the threat that reform pose, and we need to make people aware of that on the doorstep, and that's certainly what I'm trying to do in conversations when I speak to voters.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I've said this at many USDOR conferences as well, in particular with the Employment Rights Act. We were just talking about, you know, reform time and time again voted against the Employment Rights Act, against having the likes of sick pay from day one, against having contracted hours that reflect that the hours that you actually work, which is a massive difference for a worker. If they're getting a contract that reflects the hours they work and gets access to decent mortgages, decent rates of loans if they need them. Do you think that cuts through on the doorstep, Janine, that actually women in particular are aware of some of the horrendous stuff that Elsie was talking about, or just in general what reform are about and their voting record?
I think on the doorstep, it's just about immigration.
Right.
That's the only thing that people can talk about. But when you actually have proper conversations, they don't realise what they will lose, what will happen, the future for the children. You can see actually that they're thinking, well, is it right what I'm doing, where I've said that I'm going to vote? Is it the right way?
Yeah.
And I think as long as you explain what you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And I think what's more maddening is the fact is that you've got men telling us what we will be doing, you know, like, and things like that. And it's like, now, got his own voices.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah. Great to hear that as well. And obviously we're talking about, you know, women in politics, and that's the, you know, purpose of this special edition. But it's really important that young people are obviously attracted to politics as well. Lebo, do you get many young people that's interested in politics in Ilford, or do you have anything that is looking to attract more young people? Because it's great for young women to see women in politics. Is there anything else going on that helps?
My granddaughter,
right,
is up and coming.
Wonder why that is.
There are a few young people, but I think they get a little bit despondent with the repetitive conversations, and they don't see where it's going in the future.
Yeah.
But they do come out now and again for, you know, helping out on the doorstep.
That's good. How old's your granddaughter?
She's 13.
And she's interested in politics already?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
I have groomed her from a very young age. You've seen the video of
I have
seen
the video. Yeah.
She's doing very well. I'm proud of her. She's now a representative in her school.
Is she really? That's fantastic. I bet you're so proud.
Yeah.
She'll be tuning into this podcast for sure then, won't she?
Absolutely. I think the earlier we start with those conversations, the better, because they have, like I say, I grew up where I was discouraged to get involved. But I'm seeing with the younger people that I talk to that they get a sort of a question mark.
Right.
But that education is needed to be able them to grow them. And
And sometimes it has to start at home with us as parents or grandparents or friends and family. You know, it's up to us to make sure that we politicise, you know, the younger generation, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about you?
Phones down.
Yeah, yeah, put your phone down.
Conversations.
Let's chat and talk about it. What about yourself, Janine? I know your daughter has been involved in USDOR in particular. What else do you think we can do to encourage young women in particular to become political or step into political roles?
I think it's starting at school.
Yeah.
We, as a council, we've been into our local secondary school, and there's a group, what they call the Young Scholars. They wanted to know what we did work as a councillor,
Right,
what
yeah.
we can do, like at what council level, what they do and things like that. And the questions, they were just phenomenal. And hopefully it's little things like that going in the mind at 14, 15, 16-year-olds. We've also took USDOR into local colleges,
Yeah.
Explained about what USDOR do, and obviously like from that movement we've gone about labour and things like that. It's just that they need to see that they have got representation.
Excellent. And Elsie, are you at the point of reading manifesto commitments and the nighttime stories yet? Or...
Not quite. I think she's a little bit young for them. Might send her to sleep possibly, but I think so. Yeah, a brilliant part of my job as well is going into schools and speaking to young people and children, and they obviously have some of the toughest questions for me quite a lot of the time actually. Yeah. So that's fantastic. The other thing that I also do is something called my Fly High initiative. Fly High is Harewood Town's motto, and it's about getting young people from less affluent and not particularly political families interested in politics. So I run that every year. Well, I've not been an MP for that long, but I ran it last year and I run it this year. And it's like a work experience programme for young people, and they get a bit of an understanding of politics and sort of what's going on in terms of civic things in the local community, but also get some work experience. And we did a trip down to Parliament with them last year. We'll repeat it this year. And they got to go to number 10 and to meet the Speaker and understand a little bit more about what life is like as an MP, and really try and open some doors for them. So the more that trade unions can do, the more the Labour Party can do, and MPs can do to really encourage young people to do that sort of thing, I think is fantastic.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. The theme for International Women's Day this year is Give to Gain. So it's all about women supporting each other, making sure that we're sharing experiences, celebrating our achievements and just supporting one another's agenda. Are you doing anything, Lebo, to celebrate International Women's Day?
We are doing an exhibition of Wonder Women, 100 years.
Wow, fantastic.
In Redbridge, so looking forward to it because there's a lot of learning there.
Yeah. Who's some of the women that you're celebrating?
That would be a surprise.
Okay.
It's just wonderful women.
Oh, well, I'll definitely have to look that up now.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, excellent. What about yourself, Janine? Are you doing anything to celebrate International Women's Day as well as this podcast? Oh.
I will be pounding the pavement with some phenomenal lady councillors because we are so close to the elections that we will be out as door knocking, speaking to residents, and I have got some, as Barnsley Council, I've got some phenomenal Labour councillors, ladies, absolute wealth of knowledge. There's nothing, if you need that support, they are absolutely there. Obviously, like I am there for them as well. But anything at all, there's always somebody there that you know that you can actually count on. It will give you a proper direct answer, which is lovely. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Excellent. And Elsie, are you doing anything locally in the constituency to celebrate International Women's Day?
One of the things that I've been focusing on as an MP is endometriosis, which is obviously a debilitating health condition that affects a lot of women. And so this International Women's Day, I'll be speaking to women who are working in the area of endometriosis and women's health in my constituency, and trying to draw attention to that as an issue, which I think is something that, we can do as women leaders involved in politics, focusing on those areas that have really not had a lot of attention before. So for this International Women's Day, focusing on that particular health campaign will be my focus.
That's really good, and no doubt very well received in the constituency on such an important issue as well. Affecting many women.
I hope so. I believe it affects about 1 in 10 women, and the sort of diagnosis times are very long, and it's definitely not something that's previously had much attention from government. So being able to give that issue more attention is something that's really important.
It's really important that we talk about these issues that affect women as well. That's excellent. And in the spirit of the theme of International Women's Day, If you had just one or two tips, Lebo, for any woman that's considering getting involved in politics, whether it be parish councillor, local councillor, MP, anything, what would that advice be?
Get out there and learn the job,
Yeah,
but learn from the other women who are
Yeah.
already doing it.
yeah,
It's so rewarding because it's not something that is a given to
Yeah.
say that everybody can canvas. You
yeah,
have to learn the skills to
Yeah.
do it
yeah, and persist. I'm guessing.
and
Yeah,
persist. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. And what about yourself, Janine? What advice would you give?
Do it as steps. Get your
Yeah.
confidence. I've got to admit, felt I was shy to go into different places and stuff like that, and I got the confidence to go to my CLP, where I met some of the phenomenal lady counsellors. They like wrote me into like this getting us to be standing for a counsellor, and the backing that you've got off them. It fetches you out, you said. It gives you your confidence, and that confidence can follow on to that next person.
Yeah,
Whether they just start off like, say, door knocking,
yeah,
even it might just be asking a questions at your CLP, getting involved like with local things that's happening. It could be anything at all like that, but just absolutely do it. It's something that it is so rewarding for helping other people.
yeah. And the skill set's so aligned, isn't it, with being an USDOR rep and a
Absolutely.
counsellor? Do you think that's still the case?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's you learn when you're like in your disciplinaries and things like that. It's what you learn.
Yeah,
It's support, and it's just that being a counsellor is just that support on a bigger scale.
yeah, exactly.
And being a rep, you're there for your
Yeah.
colleagues, but as a counsellor, you're there for your residents.
Yeah, definitely. And I often find, Elsie, that, sometimes us women, we might not feel confident in a certain area, even though we've got a really good skill set, so we don't push ourselves forward. What advice would you give to any women that are feeling, oh, I'm not sure if I can do that, to get involved in political roles? Any top tips?
I think I would say be laser focused on what you want to achieve for your community or your residents or the people that you're representing. So whether that's improving people's pay and conditions, and whether it's something that I want to do in my area, which is about improving public transport connections, whether it's tackling health inequalities, whatever you're passionate about and the good that you want to do and the change that you want to make for your residents, stay laser focused on that. And then even when it becomes difficult or challenging, you'll find a way through. And even if you're shaking or you don't feel very confident, you know what's good for the people that you represent because you're close to them and you speak to them.
Yeah.
So just, I would say that would be my tip. Stay, keep that at the top of your mind and ignore everything else that's going on the sidelines.
Excellent. I mean, great advice, and hopefully we'll have lots of women that's watching that starts to, put themselves forward for some of these political roles. What would you say, Elsie, do you feel that Labour's done really well with delivering, particularly in areas that affect women? And also, what would you like to see the government continue to deliver with the rest of their term and manifesto commitments that really goes to the heart of the women's agenda?
I would say that we've got some really great women MPs. So in 2024, we had the highest ever intake of women MPs. We've got 236 of them in Parliament now, which is around 40%, and 46% of the cabinet are women. So we've got a really high proportion, and those women are doing great things for their constituents and nationally as well. In particular, we've got women like Angela Rayner and others who've been at the forefront when it comes to the Employment Rights Act, which, as you said earlier, is an incredibly important piece of legislation for working people. So I really hope that the government will continue with that and go further in particular areas. And we've also got brilliant ministers like Jess Phillips, for example, who's doing an awful lot when it comes to violence against women and girls, and has put a strategy out there. And these women, Angela, Jess, and others, have got real lived experience in some of these areas. So Jess, for example, has worked domestic violence refuges. That's her background. So the fact that these women are in these positions, they have that knowledge and understanding from their backgrounds, and they're now in there making government policy, and we're delivering it. I think that's really important and something that we can be proud of as a Labour government.
Fantastic. That's absolutely great acknowledgement, especially with the direction of where you want to see Labour continue to deliver. What part of the manifesto commitments do you think's worked well on the doorstep, Janine?
Breakfast clubs.
Right, okay, yeah.
We've got quite a few in Barnsley area that they've supported with the breakfast clubs.
Yeah.
Obviously, like it gets your the parents out to work, or the carers and stuff like that, knowing that the child's got food in the morning. If you're struggling, that the child can have got a full belly to learn on.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's just that they've got, if they need to get into work at a certain time, they've got them breakfast clubs that can support them.
Yeah.
And obviously, hopefully, we'll get more.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, excellent. How do you feel about that, Lebo? Was there any particular element that the government's delivered on that you think is benefiting women in particular?
I think the healthcare is improving. There's more GP appointments. There's more referrals, fast-tracked referrals for people. Yeah. And a lot of people have commented that at least it's shifting a little bit, and hopefully we get the waiting lists done quicker. Yeah. I think Wes is doing a fantastic job on the NHS.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's been well received. Yeah. Do you think women make better decisions, Janine?
Absolutely.
100%.
I think this is why it's so important that women are in politics, isn't it? Yeah, we have to back ourselves without a doubt. Yeah. Who was your woman idol growing up, Elsie? Is anybody in particular in politics or even outside of politics that you really looked up to?
I think I would say Barbara Castle was somebody that I really found inspiring as I was growing up. She was one of the main drivers behind the Equal Pay Act, which is obviously something that is still really important today, in making sure that women are paid the same as men. Is a really, really key piece of legislation. And I think, I found her somebody that was really inspiring when I was growing up.
Yeah, fantastic. Is there a particular woman who you held up as your idol, Lebo, growing up, inside of politics or outside, that you think, yes, I want to be like that?
I do. My area organizer is phenomenal. I don't understand how she manages to always be there for everyone. And she's always had time for everyone. And whenever she sees any difficulties, there to support. I look up to her a lot.
You know what I'm going to ask now? Who was your area organizer?
That's Angie Walsh.
That's lovely.
From day one to today, all my progress in the union, that's because of her.
Oh, that makes me feel incredibly proud that you had somebody in Usdaw to push you down that path, but for you to see, that's the right way to do it. Lovely. What about yourself, Janine?
I'm going to say my mum.
Lovely, yeah.
My mum was just a phenomenal person. She was always there when you needed him. We had, my parents were mine workers. My mum used to work in the pit canteen, and obviously when they were on strike, getting food on the table was so hard. But she made sure that we were all fed and watered, as they say. Yeah. And it's just the determinations that my mum had. Just to get on with everything and make life as easy as you can do. Yeah. Absolutely, lovely. My mum, 100%.
Oh, that's lovely, that. And I think we can forget sometimes the impact that we have on our nearest and dearest, can't we? That we're very focused on, being that mentor at work. But it is important that we showcase ourselves to our family as well, isn't it? So that's 3 heartwarming stories there about 3 incredible women. So what's next politically for you, Janine? What does the future hold?
Hopefully get re-elected in May.
Of course, yeah.
We're doing a lot of campaigning and everything for it, so fingers crossed. I'll still be here this time after May.
Fantastic. I'm sure you will, Janine. And what about yourself, Elsie? What do you see on the horizon politically?
Well, I just hope to continue working hard for my constituents. There's lots of things that need to improve in my constituency, whether it's housing, whether it's transport connections, healthcare. So just really being that voice in Parliament and standing up for them.
Yeah, fantastic. So what does the future hold politically for Labour?
Oh, I want to be the Prime Minister.
Fantastic.
I'd vote for you.
yeah, you get my vote as well, Labour. It has just been so wonderful to hear from yourselves, to hear your stories, to see what advice you would give up and coming women, particularly young women as well, around, getting more involved in politics. Is there any final words that you would like to share with the viewers? Hopefully lots of us reps and members, Labour.
Get involved.
Yeah.
You can start as small as running a campaign in your shop, in your stores. It can be going out canvassing. It could be joining women for a morning coffee and discussing politics.
Yeah.
Like I said, politics is just a difference of opinion. But what can we do about it? We have to talk about things.
Yeah. Thank you, Labour. Any final remarks, Janine?
Just as us door reps, you've already got the qualifications to be a councillor or whatever you decide you want to be. You've got the learning from what you do in your disciplinaries, investigations. Just work your way up if you are wanting to, because you have 100% got the qualifications.
Yeah. And Elsie?
I would agree with all of that. I would also say don't hesitate to reach out to whether it's your MP, your local councillor or your rep, because they'll be so keen to support and encourage you. So please reach out and get involved.
Yeah. I'm so proud that in Usdaw we have so many opportunities for women, but everybody to become more active, particularly with stand-down opportunities, which I know you've both done already, and Academy 1 and Academy 2, which is developmental programmes to allow reps to become more active and actually have a secondment to work with ourselves. And my most favourite day in the year when I was a regional secretary was after the reps had been seconded to us for 6 months, and they did a presentation around what that journey looked like. And honestly, nearly every single person, I'm talking about 99% of the reps that put themselves forward, had said that it changed their life. That Usdaw has an initiative that changes somebody's life, I think, is an incredible rewarding programme that we offer. So I'd also say I'd encourage lots of reps to come forward, do some stand down, participate in Academy, definitely, the Black Activist Programme and everything else that we offer to help and develop representatives, whether it become more active in the union or to be a political powerhouse like you three women are. And once again, I'd just like to thank you for giving up your time and talking to us on our very first podcast, Talking Shop. Thank you.
Can I just say that as well, though, but I'd like to thank you, Joanne, actually, because you've always been a really good leader for us in North East, and your guidance is what set me off actually down my political career.
Oh, thank you very much, Janine. Well, we've been on the doorstep many a time together, haven't we? Yeah. And I'd like to add, hail, rail, snow or shine, we are not fair weather campaigners.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So I just want to say a huge thanks once again to our fantastic guests, 3 incredible women who all have passionate stories to share. I'm so proud that we've been able to launch our very first podcast, Talking Shop, with 3 incredible women. I also want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for listening and the work that you'll continue to do within Usdaw and across our movement. Thanks very much.